Good to see you. Thanks for coming. We're going to start in Tadasana, that is standing up. So bring yourself to standing when you're ready. And bring the hands to the heart center. Feet together or close. If they're not together, then they should be level. So make sure if they're not together that they're level, that is to say one's not turning out, one's not turning in, and that they are as if you're standing on parallel lines. That's if they're apart, but keeping them together is fine too. Breathe through your nose. With the jaw soft, the temple soft, the eyes soft, the brain soft. And let there be a little bit of investigative ranging around. Left, right, forwards, backwards. Excuse me. That can bring a tuning in, tuning out. So like a radio station can't be playing two radio stations at the same time. If you're on one and you want to listen to the other, you have to tune out the one to tune into the other. So what's the radio station we're often on? Well, you know, the busyness of the day, trying, becoming, efforting. And the radio station we're tuning in on is this interdependent experience, interdependent. From here, we're going to step or jump, that's up to you, to a star shape. I quite like a jump, but I think sometimes it's better to step apart. So we're taking this Tarasana. Tara means star in Sanskritam, but is also the name, of course, of a bodhisattva. So the elbow is a little higher than the shoulders. Now we're going to turn the back toes, let's say the left toes in, and the right foot and leg out, turning on the ball of the foot first and finishing off the turn on the heel. And just have a look down at your feet to make sure your front heel lines up with your back arch. Keep the spine light and lifted and the head light and lifted and the eyes soft. Inhale, lift the spine. Exhale, bend the front knee, but stretch into the back leg. Let there be play. The Sanskrit word lila. Let there be play. So moving forwards, moving backwards, tuning in to this Virabhadrasana. Virabhadra is the name of the pose, and then we add asana. Virabhadra is strong hero, Virabhadra. So stretching, playing. Some people like to lift the heel up of the front foot. That can help to reposition the fibers of the front thigh, or play with the back foot, or both. Inhale, come up calmly. Hands to the hips, feet face forwards. Take some deep breaths. Some deep breaths. Through the nose, ideally. Jaw soft, eyes soft. Back toes turn in. Front foot and leg turns out. On the ball of the foot first, finish off the turn on the heel. We're looking for heel to arch alignment. There are other alignments, but we never include in those other alignments heel to heel. In these sort of lateral poses, it's never heel to heel. Stretch the arms, lift the ribs. Breathe through the nose. Soften your eyes. Lightly tone the tummy in reiterative waves, as if it's being combed in and up, in reiterative waves. Inhale. Exhale, bend your front leg, stretch into the back leg, and then play, lila. So play has a purpose. Artha means the purpose. And the purpose of the play is absorption, which means nothing's pulling in another direction eventually. So if muscle fibers are not agreeing, we find those. We don't repress them or demand that they come into the pose. We find them and we ask what they need to be able to be incorporated. So lifting the heels, stretching, just finding fibers that aren't agreeing yet and bringing them into agreement. Inhale, come up. Hands on the hips, feet face forwards. Take a deep breath in, followed by a deep breath out. Jaw soft, eyes soft, brain soft. And we're going to turn the feet for the same alignment, but a different pose. Back toes in, Front foot and leg out, turning on the ball of the foot, finishing off the turn on the heel. Checking, heel to arch alignment. Stretching the arms, inhale, raise your lead arm. Exhale, both legs straight, and come into Utthita Trikonasana. Now that probably means bringing your hand on your shin. And what I think, I don't really see it's that useful to press the hand against the shin. That's a relatively recent thing that people have started doing. And of course, being Homo sapiens, people do what people do. But the problem with the pressing, it's not like life-changingly bad, I'm happy to do it, is it makes the lower back a little tight. And because the lower back is one of the attachments to the diaphragm, that kind of pressing can affect the natural expressiveness of your breath. And of course, because the subject's yoga, we want the body, brain, and breath to come together. Inhale, come on up. Good job. Hands on the hips, feet face forwards, just level up your feet, breathe through your nose if you can. Take some deep, expressive breaths. Back toes in, front foot and leg out on the ball of the foot first, finish off the turn on the heel. That's our way to make sure we get heel to arch alignment. Raise the arms if you're ready. And as the arms go up, the ribs go up. As the ribs go up, if you tone your tummy in reiterative waves, then the ribs will pull the tummy and the tummy will pull the pubis and the pubis will lengthen the lower back. And as I've already described, keeping the lower back soft and long and spacious helps us to breathe more freely. Inhale, raise your lead arm. Exhale, come down calmly, studying all the way the subtle nuances. And we know this pose is predominantly a pelvic movement. That is to say, the pelvis tips and the spine just goes along for the ride. We're not side bending the body. It's just the pelvis tips and the spine goes along for the ride. And of course, it's deep breaths. Play, lila, for the purpose, artha, of absorption, and checking for the manifestation of absorption in signs of absorption. That's the three parts of yoga that we need. Play for the purpose of absorption, and then just look for the signs that you are absorbed, like the breath opening up, for example, or doubt being replaced by intuition. That's a sign of absorption. Inhale. Good job, everyone. Very good. Hands on the hips, feet face forwards. Take deep breaths. 2, 3, 4 or more. Let them be expressive. Let them be natural. And as you're placing your hands on your hips, see if you can find the pelvic floor. Now, obviously, everyone's got a pelvic floor. So finding the pelvic floor is a case of moving forwards, moving backwards, tuning in. Not holding the breath, but tuning in. Raise the arms, turn the palms, raise all the way up. And as you raise up, avoid pinching the neck, avoid trapping the neck by moving the head, if it's helpful, so that you feel free like that. Then we're going to turn. It just doesn't matter which way you're going to turn. You're going to turn back toes in, front foot and leg out. You choose which is back and front because we're going to do both sides. Then walk the front foot further across the width of the mat. In my case, I'm walking it away from you. The back heel lifts, turns out, and descends again. Breathing through the nose. Light tone in the tummy. So that means that in and up, in and up, in and up, combing, feeling, reiterative. In the Yoga Sutras, they use the word abhyasa, abhyasa. Inhale, lift up, exhale, bend the knee. Play with the back leg. So little movements of the back heel. I don't know if this works for you, but I often lift my back heel entirely and even for moments at a time, the little toe side of the foot entirely. So sometimes I'm only on the ball of the foot on the big toe side. And I use those moments to bring the back leg around, to get more freedom around the top of the thigh, the groin, and to work the groin, the top of the thigh on the back leg, round fiber by fiber, fiber by fiber. So this is Virabhadrasana. We've done a Virabhadrasana. This is Virabhadrasana number 1. Inhale, come on up. Big circle with your arms. Level up your feet. Make sure you've got plenty of room around you. Breathe deep. Find the pelvic floor. So all the pelvic floor really are the muscles between the pubic bone and tailbone. And some of them go not between the pubic bone and tailbone, but around the tailbone. So moving forwards and backwards and so on, you might be able to find the pelvic floor by finding a natural sensitivity there. A natural sensitivity there. And I think it's very, very beneficial because it switches the pelvic floor on in terms of it being able to respond to the present rather than the pelvic floor being caught up in tensions and anxieties about the future or the past. It can respond to the needs of the present. And they tend to orbit around whether the spine needs to lift or the muscles need to release. But you don't need to think about that. That's just not natural. It happens naturally. So tune in on the pelvic floor through movement. See if you can find it. It's nothing sort of, out of the ordinary. It's just very simple sensation of awareness of the physical feeling of the pelvic floor. That's all. Stretch the arms, turn the palms, raise the arms up, and make sure the neck's, again, free. The tummy is lightly toned at this point to keep that length in the lumbar. Back toes turn in, front foot and leg turns out. Walk the front foot further across the width of the mat. Lift the back heel, turn it out, and then bring the back heel down. And remember, that might be temporarily, because when we come into the pose, we might lift the back heel up for moments at a time, not necessarily for the whole pose, but for little moments to help bring the groin round. Inhale, raise the fingers. Exhale, bend the knee. Again, back to that instruction where you might find it useful to lift the back heel or even the front heel to tune in on the spine, to realign the spine. So breathing through the nose, repeated movements with light tone in the tummy. So reiterate, reinstate, reinvigorate, and repeat. Lots of little movements that together bring about alignment. Pelvic floor buoyant. Virabhadrasana number 1. Great. Inhale with the pelvic floor in your awareness. Come back up, make a big circle. Hands to the hips, level the feet up, and take some deep breaths. You can let yourself be loose any way that the body wants to. I don't want to be too prescriptive about it, but the pelvis might move left, it might move right, the spine might turn this way or that. We're just being loose or loosening off a little. Same alignment, but the first side again. So back toes in, front foot and leg out on the ball of the foot first, then finish off on the heel. So you should end up with heel to arch alignment. Breathing through the nose, stretch the arms. That's it. Release the roots of the neck. Inhale, lift. Exhale, bend. Stretch into the back leg and bring your elbow down on your leg. Look up, stretch up, and maybe over. You can look up onto the armpit optionally. Breath is deep and expressive. We're avoiding the arm coming too low. We don't want to squash the head. And our breaths are natural and organic. There's light tone in the tummy that's repeated. There's light tone in the tummy. Now, some people, and this is optional entirely, but some people like to bring their hand down on the inside of the leg. That's one option. And of course, one can use blocks for that and then continue with the stretching over. That's another option for this pose, Pajvakonasana. Or even to the little toe side of the foot. There's another option in Parsvakonasana. Coming up either way by pressing into the leg and using your inhale. Hands on the hips, feet face forwards. Take a deep breath. I'd like to say that I can hear, but you're a little too far away for me to hear, but I can imagine, and I certainly can feel it. So let's all take deep breaths. Hopefully that's begun to stir the breath up a little, or a lot even. And we're taking deep and expressive and natural breaths. And as we're doing that, we're turning the back toes in, the front foot and leg out on the ball of the foot, finishing off on the heel, checking with a visual check that we've got heel to arch alignment and adjusting if we need to. Stretching out the arms if you're ready. And then inhale, lift up, exhale, bend the front knee, elbow down, stretch up the top arm and quite possibly over. Even there's the option to look up, but you don't have to. Sometimes it feels better not to. And we're not doing, these poses are not static. We can move them and adjust them. And we know that if we do that, if we move and play like lifting a heel or lifting either heel or both heels or moving backwards and forwards, if we do that, we know we hydrate the myofascia. We bring more fluidity into the myofascia, which is beneficial. Again, there's the option to come down perhaps to a block or the floor on the big toe side of the foot. That's another option. It's not something you need to do. It's just another option. Or on the little toe side of the foot. Again, it's another option. Looking up under the armpit. Marvelous. Come up by pressing into the leg. Use your inhalation. And you're up. Feet face forwards. Take deep breaths. Take 2 or 3 or 4. And while we're taking them, let's walk our feet towards each other and have a little shake out. Have a little kick out or a little shake out. Now, next we're going to use a brick, or if you haven't got a brick block, a regular block. So here's a brick block. This one happens to be blue, and it happens to say Vajrasati Yoga on the other side. But any color and with any writing or no writing will be fine. Once you've got a block, and remember, if you haven't got a block, you can use whatever you've got to make a little stack. It could be a stack of books. We're going to step the foot that, if you've got the screen set up like I have, so that you can have it to the side of you, you'd step the foot that's closest to the screen forwards. But don't worry if you've got a different setup, it won't matter, as long as one foot's back and one foot's forwards, and then making sure you've got enough space across the width of the mat. Across the width of the mat. Now the block or books or whatever you're going to use, they're going to come down on the little toe side of your front leg. So remember, I've got the leg that's closest to you. If you've got the screen set up like me, have the leg closest to me. Raise the opposite arm to your front leg and lightly tone your tummy in repeated waves. Inhale, find the pelvic floor. Exhale, extend the bottom ribs and turn. Feel the back leg releasing. And as you come down, hand on the block. It might need to be lower if you've got long arms. And the other hand on your sacrum, which is the bony plate between the buttock flesh. Don't hold on to the breath. Do soften your eyes. Like just let them be soft. Eyes relaxed, jaw relaxed, brain relaxed, throat relaxed. Extend the bottom ribs and turn. In fact, you don't even need to worry about turning. If you extend your bottom ribs, turning happens. Keep the tummy drawn in. The option to raise the top arm is there, but it's not necessarily a useful addition. Sometimes it's not useful because it takes our attention away from the bigger part of the pose, which is what's going on in the tummy and the ribs and the chest. This is, of course, Parivrita Trikonasana. Good job. Come on up. And swap which foot is forwards and which foot is backwards. Or, as I'm going to do, I'm simply going to turn to the other end of my mat so I can still turn to face towards you. Similarly, the block will go on the little toe side of the front foot. And we need to, again, make sure we've got enough space across the width of the mat. So the mat has a length and it has a width, and it's the width that we want to make sure we're spacious enough so we can be balanced, we can feel balanced and level. When you're ready, raise the opposite arm to your front leg, and without gripping at all in the eyes or the neck or the jaw, inhale from the inner groin, exhale, extend and turn, and lengthen, and be calm too. The height of the block is up to you. Breathe easy. Calmly, within the context of calmness, extend the bottom ribs and breathe deep. Extend the bottom ribs. Now, one way to help you do that, I should say, is to draw your tummy in, pull your chest forwards as you lengthen the bottom ribs. The tummy in, chest forwards, that means towards the head, as you lengthen the bottom ribs. Like a little set, tummy in, chest forwards, lengthen. Like that. Tummy in, chest forwards, lengthen. We've got our other hand on the sacrum, although you can raise it up if you want, but as I said, sometimes that simply is a distraction from the work in the pose, the deeper work. Bottom shoulder blade draws down and the body turns. Eyes are soft. Breathing is deep. Deep, expressive, honest. Every so often, tummy draws in, chest pulls forwards, and you turn a bit more. Parivrtta Trikonasana. Good job. It's a big pose. Come up calmly. Step your back foot forwards and step into a generous stride. Use the brick that you used before to place it ahead of you. Ready for Prasarita Padottanasana. So Prasarita means spread apart. Prasarita. Pra plus sarita. Which means like to spread forth. Prasarita. Padottanasana. Pada, foot. Ot, which is actually ut, which means intense. Ton, stretch. So an intense stretch with the feet apart is the translation. Turn your toes in towards each other. And when you're doing that, align and realign your feet. What does that mean? Well, one way you might find you can do that is to lift up your toes, just so you're on the heel of one foot only, and adjust your foot multiple times so you feel more awakeness in the foot. You feel more awakeness, balance between inner and outer ankle. And that can take a very long, a lifetime. And we're not concerned how long it takes. The process is, as I said at the beginning, like a radio. By tuning into this, we're tuning out of that. And what that is this process of being and becoming somebody and doing things as somebody. We tune out of that by tuning into this. So that's the virtue of this. There's obviously anatomical virtues as well. Lift up from the groins by lifting the chest on the inhale. So from the groins to the chest, inhale, lift up, exhale, fold over the top of the front thighs, hinge from the hip joints, and come down to your block, which could be full height like this. We want the spine to be softly spacious. Softly spacious. Breathing through the nose. The spine should be softly spacious. Perhaps there's movement forwards and backwards. The eyes are soft, the brain is soft, the throat is soft, the tongue is soft. Some people find their lower backs dip down in a sort of concave, downwards concave. If that's the case, you keep going down. But if the back is convexed, if it's rounded, then you stay higher until the lower back drops. So the criteria for coming lower isn't because we think we should or because we think that's somehow better, but only if the lower back concaves. And if it keeps concaving, it will feel better to come lower, better meaning less tight. So there's options. The option to be high up on the hands, playing with the hamstrings by moving forwards and backwards, by looking for tone in the front thighs, by moving your toes and heels. And or if the lower back release is going with it. That is, if the lower back dips downwardly, then you go with it. So there's a whole range of different options. Breathing through the nose, jaw soft, eyes soft, brain soft. Balance between the hips and the groins, outer hips, inner groins. Great. Come back to fingertips on the blocks or on the floor. Walk your feet a little closer to each other. Come all the way up and then leading with the chest. Walk your feet towards each other and have a little shakeout. Have a little loosen off in some way or another. And then we're going to come down to our back, but make sure you've got a belt nearby, like a dressing gown belt or a yoga belt if you've got one. So come down to laying down on your back and make sure you've got a belt nearby. We're going to lay down with our legs bent, breathing easy. Jaw soft. So have the belt nearby, lay down on your back. Take a breath or two. So it just allows the back to settle, doesn't it? When we're laying on our backs, and that can feel pretty good. A couple more breaths to allow for that. It can feel pretty good, actually. When ready, raise up a leg, and it doesn't matter which one, and bring the belt around the front of the heel. So the front of the heel is what it sounds like. There's a back to the heel, which is closer to the back of the foot, and there's a front of the heel, which is closer to the arches of the foot. In fact, there's an intersection there, they meet. We want some contact with the heel and the belt, and some contact with the foot arches and the belt. And we walk up the belt until our arms are straight and our breath is deep. We relax the neck, we relax the back, we relax the eyes. We take deep breaths. The neck, the breath, the eyes. And often when we're relaxed, intuitive, investigative movements come naturally. The leg might drift to the middle or away from the middle. The foot might move, pointing the toe up or pushing the heel up. But whatever it is we do, what it should do for us is loosen the breath. It should open up the breath. And if it's not doing that, then the movements aren't correct. And if it is doing that, whatever movements you take are correct. Lift the foot that's on the floor off the floor and continue to breathe through your nose. Extend that lower leg, the one you've just lifted, out to about 45 degrees relative to the floor. And breathe through your nose. You can allow the leg to move around, the one that doesn't have the strap, if it keeps things light, flowing, and breath-centered. We're going to lift the head too. And again, you can allow that lower leg to move left, right, forwards, backwards. Eyes are soft, brain is soft. Investigative, searching for absorption. The head comes down, the extended leg bends, the raised leg is released, the belt is on the tummy, the hands are on the ribs, the breath is deep with a sigh for the exhale. And let another one happen after that. And another deep breath happens after that. And another deep breath happens after that, and so on. While still free breathing, while still letting the breath come and go, let's raise the other leg. And similarly, place the strap to the front of the heel. Breathe through the nose, neck soft, jaw soft, eyes soft. Walk up the strap, keeping the neck soft. Breathing through the nose. Deep, expressive breaths. We're observing release in the neck, release in the lower back, both of which are connected to the breath, deep breaths. Release in the neck, release in the lower back. Breath is everything. You can allow play. The leg might drift outwardly, inwardly, towards the body, away from the body. The right movements are the movements that cause the breath to open up. That's how you know. Those are the right movements, the ones that cause the breath to open up, to become expressive. Once you understand this about yoga, then each yoga pose is like a little universe. And one becomes really happy to stay there, just exploring. There's so much to explore. Everything's changing. It's a dance. Lift the foot that's on the floor off the floor. And let the lower back really settle. Let it really settle. Then extend the lower leg to about 45 degrees relative to the floor. And again, there's the freedom to play with that. Sometimes it feels nicer for the back of the leg is higher or lower or further out or further in. We're only interested in what feels better for the back, and that is validated by the breath. The breath should be expressive. So deep, honest, natural breathing. You can lift the head as well if you want. It's optional. Deep, natural, honest breathing. Bend that leg, release the upper leg, both feet down, belt on the tummy, hands on the ribs, take deep breaths. Take 2 or 3 or 4 of those even, or 5 even. So you really focused on the exhalation. Really focused on the exhalation. While we're doing that together, let's pop our hands behind our head, fingers interlaced. And take a couple more really deep breaths. Bring your feet close to your bum. And lightly tone the tummy in a sort of wave. So it draws in towards the spine and up. And then lift the pelvis up as well. Allow yourself to range around, that is to move around left and right, so on. And the purpose of the ranging around is to loosen any tightness from the lower back so it can feel softer and longer, more relaxed in the lower back, more fluid. So really play into the lower back. In addition, find the pelvic floor. In addition, find the pelvic floor. So that's simple. Everyone has a pelvic floor. And all pelvic floors have nerve endings. And as long as you're not presuming what the sensation should be like, you'll be able to feel what the sensations are like. Let the pelvis come down slowly to rest. Take a deep breath in, followed by out. Flex the hips, lift the feet, and lift the head as well. Breathe through your nose. A little abdominal flexion. Keep the head up if you're okay to do so. Don't put any strain. And just tap the floor with your toes alternately. Let it be a meditation by making sure that there's a sense of openness and intimacy with the sensations. We're just toe tapping with the head up. If you need to rest, of course, before I say you absolutely please feel free. Now we're going to carry on toe tapping as the head lowers down. Breathing easy, keeping the lower back close to the floor. And we're going to carry on toe tapping as we lift the head and turn. Just a little bit. Don't yank on the neck. The hands can slide. And then we're going to turn the other way. Still toe tapping. And back to center. Still toe tapping. Head down. Just tap the toes further away. Keep the lower back close to the floor. Tap the toes further away. And now tap the heels twice each. Keep the lower back close to the floor. Tap the heels, back of the heels. And then bend the legs, feet down. Let me hear you take a deep breath, like really deep with a sigh at the exhale. Take a few of those. Really deep with a sigh at the exhale. Just observe the back becoming peaceful and passive. And release the hands from behind the head and roll over. Come up from the side. And we're going to use a block or two to sit on. Now I've got these chipped foam blocks. I was at an assessment in the lovely Sussex town of Lewes a couple of days ago. I was doing an assessment for somebody, and two of the students started chatting there because they both had chipped foam blocks, and they thought that by coincidence they'd both bought them from the Maida Vale in London, Iyengar Institute, and they both presumed that's the only place you can buy them. It's not true at all, because these were from somewhere different. Now I'm sitting on two blocks, as you could do, or you could sit on one block. The pose is Bharadvajasana, so I'm down on one block now. The legs are going over to one side, and this is perhaps how you tell whether you need one or two or even three blocks. It's about the space for your legs. This pose is a very traditional pose for Buddhist monks to sit in. And if you go to certainly a southern Buddhism monastery, there's a very good chance you'll see people sitting in this way. And it's often represented if you go to Sri Lanka. You can go to temples and you'll see statues of monks with their legs like this as well. What we've got is one shin resting in the arch of the other foot and lifting and shifting. Now, without lifting the legs, turn away from the feet. Breathe through the nose and keep the eyes soft. Keep the jaw soft. Breathing naturally. Imagine that there was a central column or channel running immediately in front of the spine, and you wanted that central channel all the way along its length to feel peaceful, to feel spacious, to feel natural. Eyes soft, brain soft, throat soft. Release, return to center. Stretch out your legs again. Maybe give yourself a little rub down. Give yourself a little rub down. Energy bath, we call it. Can be as vigorous or not vigorous as you like. But usually what we want is it to be quite universal. So it promotes this circulation of what's called the Vyana Vayu, the everywhere energy, the all over energy, the everywhere energy. Now the legs are going to go over to the other side. Similarly, for Bharadvajasana, Bharadvaja is the name plus the particle asana. And one shin, and the character Bharadvaja does appear in Buddhist, early Buddhist texts. So remember, the shin is on the foot arch, pressing into it, and lifting and shifting can be useful. When I observed some Buddhist monks recently in a monastery, they were sitting on their round meditation cushions doing this, but they were on the edge of their cushion and they were sitting very peacefully. It was very nice to see, actually. Inhale, lift and turn when you're ready without lifting the legs. They don't lift. Keep your eyes soft, breathing through the nose. Expressive, natural, organic. Expressive, natural, organic. Jaw stays soft, eyes stay soft, brain stays soft, tongue stays soft. And again, let's see if we can get a feeling for this idea of a central channel that runs immediately in front of the spinal column, which you can feel. And the breath is through the nose, ideally. And the breath is honest, natural. Well done. Return to center. Come out of the posture. We're going to take a wide-legged posture. And for this, most people, not absolutely everyone, but most people should turn their block so that the corner faces forwards. That faces forwards. And in placing it like that, you can then sit on that turned block. It's turned ski-whiff, so sort of diagonally placed. The corner projects forwards of the pubis, just appears in front of the pubis. You should be able to provide you with enough support for the buttocks, but the thighs are free, which we want. So the block is cornered and the thighs are free. And the toes are pointing up. And we're breathing through the nose. Drop the shoulders. Take your hands into a cup shape. Turn your fingers to face behind you and touch the floor. And just roll your shoulders on shoulder blades, actually down your back. Keep the eyes soft, the brain soft, the throat soft. This is upavishta, which means seated, kona, angle. The same as the English word corner. Upavishta, corner asana, like a corner in the corner of a room where two walls meet. There's a corner. So the Sanskrit word for corner, which is English, the corner, for the Sanskrit word is kona. Which is very similar, isn't it? Lift and turn towards one leg, doesn't matter which one. And feel a release of energy behind you in the same way that as a boat goes forwards, it appears to release behind it what's called a wake. As the boat goes forwards, it releases its wake behind it. As you turn forwards towards your leg, feel a release into the back leg. Some people enjoy extending forwards at this point, but it's very important that there's no striving, that we're soft, and that we're where we want to be, in terms of the breath. The breath should be natural and organic and expressive. So how, if you fold a little bit forwards or a lot forwards or not at all, it doesn't matter. Or rather, it does matter. You should take the option that allows your breath to be freest. Coming back up when you're ready, if you did fold forwards, and then turn to the other leg. And remember, it's enough, more than enough, just to turn. Breathe through the nose if you can. Eyes soft, jaw soft, brain soft. Feel the release into the back leg, the one you've turned away from. Jaw soft, eyes soft, brain soft. If it comes naturally to extend over the leg, that's fine, but don't force it, don't rush it. And please don't take any actions that cause your breath to become shallow. All your actions should be causing the breath to become more expressive. Great. Wherever we come to, we come up, we turn forwards, fingers on the floor ahead of us, and without strain, no strain, so softness really helps the tissues to get involved. We sit up straight. Now, one or two feel comfortable to extend forwards a bit. If you've got a wide range of motion, sometimes extending forwards, if you're sitting on a block, presses the block into the pubis, and that doesn't always feel comfortable. So you might not want to come particularly far forwards if you're on a block, just because to avoid that. But if it's comfortable, come to wherever you're comfortable. It's about the breath again. So we might be fingertips. It's enough, isn't it? Yogis Patanjali talks about in the second pada the importance of santosha being enough. A sense that the yogi knows that they've got enough. Deep breath, soft eyes. Just be wherever you are. That's fine. Okay, coming back up slow and easy. Well done. And hopefully you can bring your legs back together and cross them. And again, you can continue to sit on a block, but if you're on a block now, have it so it's the regular way around, the long side forwards. But again, you don't have to be on a block. It depends how light your spine feels. It's cross-legged. There's a gap between the legs and the pelvis that you can see your yoga mat through that gap. The buttock flesh is drawn out and back. You can see me leaning to one side, leaning to the other. And the palms face up. Shoulders are down. Breathing is natural. Breathing is natural. Imagine your breath came from somewhere above the crown of your head, to be exact, at Dwadash Anta, the end of 12. 12 what? Finger widths. Let's measure it. 4 finger widths. 4 finger widths. 4 finger widths. 12. Right? So 4 plus 4 plus 4, 12. So you imagine your breath begins there. Right? It's just a visualization. And that it comes down as you breathe in to the bottom of the breastbone, and as you breathe out, it goes back up. Right? That's the beginning of our practice. You breathe in, you imagine it going down, you breathe out, you imagine it going up. Right? So let's do that together. Just the natural breath. Think of it, if you will, like flossing the central channel with energy, like you floss your teeth. Huh? So this is a foundation for a practice we're going to come into. We're going to develop practice. So make sure you're concentrating on breathing in from the Dwadash Anta, the end of 12, Dwadash Anta, to the bottom of the breastbone, and then back the other way. Next, we're going to let the breath go deeper than the breastbone to the belly button, and then back up. Same thing from the Dwadash Anta. Down as if through a central channel, and then back through that central channel to the Dwadash Anta as you breathe out. The final stage is to take the breath all the way from there down to the pelvic floor and then back up again. So it's continuing what we've been doing. Flossing the central channel, as it were. Last breath. Pelvic floor when you're ready. And then back up to the Dwadashanta. And then the breath we take after that goes to the heart again. And then we hold the breath for a second at the heart. And then as you breathe out, imagine your energy stays at the heart. And then staying at the heart is natural, normal breathing. Breath just comes and goes. But your attention is at the heart center. Sorry about the yapping dogs. I don't know if the microphone's picking that up or not, but it sort of sounds quite summary to me. One single round of Brahmari with Shanmukhi Mudra. So here's a quick demonstration. In a minute, not now, in a minute, you're going to cover your eyes with your fingers. You're going to close what's called the tragus. That's the cartilaginous flap across the ear. You're going to take a deep breath in and out without obstructing your nostrils. So just in and out. And then partially closing the nostrils for inhale and exhale. We hum the exhales. The inhales are through partially closed nostrils. The exhales are through partially closed nostrils, but hummed. Like that. So we're just doing one round of that, Brahmari. So when you're ready, fingers over the eyes, thumbs pressing the little door closed on the nose, a deep breath in and out through open nostrils before partially closing the nostrils for inhale and exhale, humming the exhales. Or the exhale. Once you've released, we're going to lay down on our backs. We're coming towards Shavasana, but not quite. We're going to give our legs a hug first. So if you lay on your back with a head support, take your time laying down with care. Hug the legs and a bit of a roll left and right. Looking for sensations that are rich enough. Rich enough to kind of consume you in a good way. Now you can roll as long as you want because it feels pretty good. I hope. Well, it certainly does for me. And I hope it does for you too. And when you're ready to release, it doesn't have to be now, then we'll extend the legs, palms up, shoulder blades scooted under, that head support, and then it's eyes closed for Shavasana. Eyes closed for Shavasana. Everything soft, everything relaxed. Let go of the weight of the legs, the weight of the feet, the weight of the arms, the weight of their chest and head. A full release. The temples on the sides of the skull are soft. The frontal lobe is soft and relaxed. The parietal lobes on the sides relaxed. The occipital lobe of the brain relaxed. The throat is relaxed. The diaphragm is soft and relaxed. When you're ready, take an extra deep breath. Really go with the exhale into complete release of everything, thoughts, ideas, weight of the body, the breath, releasing everything. Then, if you feel ready, feel into your body as if it was something new. Now, because this is a Zoom class, of course, or you may be watching it on YouTube, it's a class that you can stay longer in corpus pose if you want. So these instructions are for either for now or for in a minute or for 5 minutes, as you like. But wiggling the toes, wiggling the fingers, stretching the arms, stretching the legs, perhaps rubbing the eyes even. These can all be taken as ways to wake ourselves up naturally, just very, very natural stretches. And then we'll be bending the legs and placing the soles of the feet onto the floor. If you've got a bolster under your knees, the feet go into the bolster. A little bit of length to the lower back, so a press down into the feet and a lift up of the bum, just enough to scoot the buttocks under. And then when you're ready, roll onto your left side. And as I say, that doesn't have to be now. That can be, in a few minutes or whenever you're ready. And then over to the right side, either now or whenever. And finally, letting yourself come round by rubbing the eyes or running a hand through the hair. And eventually, we might feel ready to come up, and we'll come up from the side, using our arms to assist our ascent. And here's a little bit of Buddhism for those who like to dabble a little bit in Buddhism. And that is the transference of merit. It's a Mahayana practice. So hands to your heart, breathe easy, jaw soft. If you agree with the following sentence, just say Om at the end. May any merit gained in our acting in this way go to the alleviation of the suffering of absolutely all beings. Om.